Why do you feel like a fraud? For some people, imposter syndrome looks like thinking you're not as smart as everyone else in the room. For others, it might be believing that you landed a job through pure luck. Or maybe you're constantly worried that someone is going to find out that you just don't know what you're doing. And in tech, this feeling is everywhere. I want to talk about why that is and also how it showed up in my own career and actually actionable steps you can take to stop this from ruining your experience. And spoiler, it isn't just confidence. It's actually about rewiring your brain on how you think about your skills, your worth, and your work. Let's talk about what imposter syndrome actually is. Imposter syndrome is when you doubt your abilities and you feel like a fraud despite actually being competent and there being lots of evidence of you being competent at something. It's not actually an official medical diagnosis, it's just a pattern of thinking. There are a couple of common signs that I even mentioned in the intro. One being that you attribute all your successes to being lucky and being in the right place at the right time, or even attributing it to other people helping you out and just, oh yeah, I had this connection, which is why I was able to get this job or get into this school. Another sign would be having to over prepare for stuff. So that could be over preparing for interviews because you don't feel like what you're bringing to the interview is going to be good enough. So I don't think over preparing for interviews is necessarily a bad thing, but it is when you feel like you're doing it in substitution for your confidence in your ability. This could even show up in your tech job, like preparing for your daily stand-up, and you just feel like you've got to look like you know what you're doing, so you're just over preparing something to say. And on the flip side of that, you also have the procrastination aspect, which you could be procrastinating out of fear. If you were trying to find a job in something, but you think you're not good enough to get a job, you might be procrastinating the job process so you don't have to face that reality you've made up in your head. And also, dismissing positive feedback. You might be kind of second guessing someone's intention with their compliment and thinking, oh, they're just saying that to be nice, not because they mean it. If someone compliments you on some work you did, you might just not believe it because you just feel like no way that can be right. They're just trying to be nice. And here's the thing, when you're working in tech moves very fast. Like the whole industry is always moving. How fast is AI moving these days? There's so much to learn so constantly that you can definitely easily feel like you are not up to scratch with what you need to know. You can easily feel or slip into that feeling of, oh my God, everyone else knows what's going on and I just can't keep up and someone's gonna find out that I don't know anything. And you may not feel like you belong amongst your peers. I have definitely suffered from imposter syndrome, especially in my previous career, previous to technology. But before I tell you about my experience in the job, I remember throughout my life, just friends and family would always tell me that I'm lucky. And it was probably seemingly harmless, but this actually can affect your thinking. So when things somehow worked out for me, I'd be lucky. When I landed XYZ job, I'd be called lucky. And while luck definitely is a part of life and my life, it can subconsciously kind of give this idea that none of it was actually because I worked or anything. It was just because I was in the right place at the right time and things just happened for me. So yeah, hearing this over and over can rewire your brain to attribute successes to not your own work, but external factors and luck. And actually, when I look back, yeah, I did probably have some times where things just worked out and I couldn't really see what I had done to have things work out that way. But also a lot of times there was a lot of work that I did in the background that I may have not recognized at the time because I just thought, oh, I'm just in the right place at the right time. So going back to my previous career, me feeling imposter syndrome, I was working in financial sector as an actuarial trainee, and from pretty much day one, I felt like I did not know what I was doing, partially because I was new and I probably didn't know a lot of stuff. But even a few years in, I felt like I'd learned nothing and everyone was better than me. And I think partially it was the job that I was in. I didn't have the best support either. So I didn't have any validation to check, my progress in the job. So I just constantly thought they're gonna find out one day and find out that I don't know what I'm doing. And if they ask me this, I'm not gonna know the answer. And looking back, I probably knew a lot more than I gave myself credit for. And that was pretty much the imposter syndrome kicking in. I definitely had times where I contributed to the team, or people relied on me for work, so there was some credibility there. I just didn't see it because I was just blinded by this fear of getting found out and being a fraud. And eventually this made me quit that whole career because I just felt like I have to leave before someone finds out. That's how strongly I was affected by it. But I've made sure to not do that my second chance around for my next career, which was in tech, which I'm currently working in. I think there are a lot of tech specific struggles with imposter syndrome because you're constantly surrounded by techie people that are complete nerds. It's quite common to have people really passionate about their jobs in tech, which is really good, but it can be quite intimidating sometimes because you might have like a little voice in the back of your head that's kind of saying, should I know this? There's so many things that I hear people talking about that I just have no idea about. And like I mentioned before, tech is always changing and evolving, and there's always going to be things to learn in tech. So it's very easy to feel like you're falling behind. And even I remember when I first joined, once you start contributing, people tell you should do this that way and give you loads of comments on your PR possibly, which is completely normal because you've just started this job. And it's not a problem if that's happening, of course, unless you're not learning from your mistakes. But having that pressure and putting it upon yourself, you shouldn't put it on yourself as pressure. You should see it as a learning opportunity. But if you have this mindset of someone's going to find out, I don't know what I'm doing, you're going to feel pressure when people point things out to you, and you might see that as, look, see, there's evidence that I just don't know what I'm doing, and it reinforces that, mindset. So how do we fight this terrible mindset that can literally ruin people's careers, like my last career that I just quit? There's some actionable steps you can take. So if you are conscious and you kind of fit the signs of imposter syndrome, you can then work on recognizing when you're having those self-doubt feelings or thoughts. So next time, or when you're at work or wherever this applies, and you're thinking, oh, I'm just not good enough for this job or this course that I'm on, and I just can't do it because I'm just not as good as everyone else. Recognize that you're thinking that and kind of logically think it out. So as soon as you catch yourself thinking that, kind of come up with like a line of questioning, like, is this just a feeling and a thought? And what's it based on? And kind of label it as, it's not a fact, it's just how I feel right now. And then once you've identified it as a thought, not a fact, you can then kind of counter that thought in your head and see, actually, I did this, this, and this. So I know I can do this, or I'm good at this. You know, I was in charge of this feature and I got it shipped on time and it was done to a high standard. Of course I'm good enough. I solved this bug that no one else could work out. That was an achievement. Even now I have moments, I mean, most people must have some moments like this where they feel like, do I just not know that much? But then you have to realize that it might just be a feeling in the moment because you're working on something difficult. And if so, get help. Don't feel like you're not good enough. If you don't know something, you don't know something. You're gonna have to figure out how to, you know, learn about it or ask someone for help, because you're not gonna get anywhere by just thinking these self-doubt thoughts and just, you know, ripping into yourself. It's not gonna be a constructive line of thinking. No one knows everything, and this is sometimes something you realize a bit further in if you're like a new developer. But at the start, I probably thought, yeah, everyone knows everything. I just need to get up to that level. But then as time goes on, you realize this is you can't reach that level because there's always more. And also, not everyone even is at that imaginary ideal level that you might have set yourself, because, you know, people might be good at some areas and they're a very beginner level at other areas. And that's something you just have to figure out once you start. And the faster you figure that out, the better your experience is going to be, because it definitely validates your, you know, question asking and feeling confident in asking your questions, because you don't feel stupid because everyone asks these questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question in tech. You might feel stupid, but really if you don't know something, you just don't know it, so you're just gonna have to ask. And if you're ever put on the spot and someone asks you something and you just don't know the answer, you don't have to pretend and worry that, oh my God, they've got me. They know. You can just say, I don't know, I'm sorry. Would you be able to enlighten me on this? Or I'm not sure at the moment, I'll go away and investigate further, or, you know, reframe it. If anything, this gives you a new opportunity to either ask someone else and collaborate, or, you know, do your own individual learning time or research. It's all about reframing how you're looking at these different scenarios in which you could have felt like you're not good enough, but really there's always a counter to that. And also change your belief about success. Don't put everything down to luck. Luck can play a factor, but it will only get you so far. If you think about it, if you felt lucky you got an opportunity, oh, you just got lucky that you landed this job interview, but let's say you land the job, that wasn't luck, that was you. Luck might open opportunities and open doors for you. If you're starting out in tech and you feel like you're out of place, even a year in, it doesn't matter, because skills can be learned and confidence can be built. And if you care about these things in the first place, if you care about being a good worker or a good developer, you already have the right attitude. So you're already someone that is wanted on that team. If this resonated with you, let me know your experience if you had imposter syndrome at some point in your life, and let me know in the comments. I guarantee someone watching this will find it useful, because it's really reassuring to hear that it's an experience held by many people, not just you. And if you're a beginner software developer and you feel like you still have loads of questions that you feel a bit shy or silly asking, then check out my explainers, because they probably answer a lot of those. But other than that, I'll see you next time.